Greetings everyone and welcome back to another in-depth phone review. In this video we are taking a look at another brand that has never been featured on this channel, and that is Realme. Realme is a spin-off from Oppo, pretty much the same company, owned by BBK. Realme branded phones just sort of popped up, well here in Australia anyways, and they've been pretty successful as well as all around the world, offering fairly decent devices at a reasonable price, much like Xiaomi. I have personally used some low-end Realme devices and they are honestly pretty good for the price. However, today we are looking at a flagship spec device from them and quite possibly the cheapest phone on the market to have a Snapdragon 888 in it, and that phone is the Realme GT. This phone was sent to me from a representative of AliExpress, so a massive thank you to them for sending it over to me. I really do appreciate it as always. This was originally going to be part of the Black Friday deals, but unfortunately due to some delays it's now going to be for the sales that take place in December. This phone was also shipped from the official Realme store on AliExpress, which if you are wondering about all links, they are in the description below. If you want to take a look at this device, feel free. They are not affiliate links, so I will not earn anything from any sales. They're just there for your convenience. The link to the Realme store is also in the description as well. You can go onto Google and look for the device from another source. It's completely up to you. There's no obligations there. Also, I just want to clarify that I was not paid by AliExpress or Realme to review this device. They just sent the sample out for me to review, and that is what I'm here to do. Since I always go very in-depth with my videos, there are timestamps in the description as well as the pinned comment to skip to wherever you need to be. YouTube calls them chapters, but timestamps works as well. I know the length of these videos can seem like a big deal when you see a video from me being at 1 hour plus. This honestly does make people really frustrated, but going in depth as much as I do takes a lot of time, so please feel free to use those timestamps if you need to. The Realme GT is currently available in only one color, and that is silver, and not the really cool yellow eco leather one that I got, which really does suck. Hopefully they do restock this by the time this video comes out, but anyways, you can grab it on AliExpress for $645 Australian, which I will display a currency conversion chart on screen for you all, so feel free to pause the video so you get an idea of how much this phone costs around the world. This phone does ship from China as usual and offers free shipping, which is always nice to see. You can select another package on AliExpress which includes a tempered glass screen protector, and it's $5 less, so if you want to save $5 straight away you can choose that. But yeah, unfortunately the eco leather yellow GT is out of stock, but you can find the phone on AliExpress for around the same price from other sellers. The yellow one is kind of like the definitive edition of the Realme GT, and I really like the look of it. There's also a couple of tips on the listing which I'll display on screen, just some frequently asked questions, but I thought I'd show them here. Warranty wise, you should get 1 year from Realme, and there are also a heap of service centers around the globe, so you should be set if anything were to happen to this. Alright, before we speed into this review, we need to break at these traffic lights and go over the specifications real quick. The model is the Realme GT with the yellow eco leather back. The front of the phone is protected by glass, but the version is not specified. The frame is plastic, and depending on which version you choose, you'll either have a glass back or the eco leather back, which has a plastic stripe embedded in it. This does not have any IP certifications unfortunately, but that's not too much of a deal breaker. The dimensions of the device are shown on screen. The leather one is slightly thicker, and the weight of this is 186 grams on both versions. The system on chip is the Qualcomm Snapdragon 888, which is an octa-core processor and is based on a 5nm manufacturing process, and it also has an Adreno 660 GPU on board. This is the same system on chip found in the OnePlus 9 Pro, which I've already reviewed, and I'll card up the top right hand corner. The RAM configuration sits at 8GB. Storage is 128GB, but unfortunately does not have an option to add a microSD card. You can get a 256GB model, which is a bit more expensive, so if you need more space, that is something to consider, and that model also has 12GB of RAM. The display is a 6.43-inch 1080p Super AMOLED display with a 120Hz refresh rate, and has a 360Hz touch sampling rate. In the camera department, we have a triple camera setup on the rear, which includes a 64MP main sensor, 8MP ultra wide, 2MP depth sensor, and a dual tone LED flash. You can record video up to 4K 60fps with this. The front camera is just a 16MP one and can record video in 1080p at 30fps. None of the cameras on this phone have any optical image stabilization, but they do offer electronic image stabilization, which does work well for the most part. The battery in this is rated at 4500 mAh and has support for 65W fast charging, and the best part, the charger is in the box, which is good. However, I received a European charger, but depending on which country you buy from, you should get the right charger, or they may include a travel adapter. The OS is Android 11 with Realme's own UI on top of it, which is mainly stock, but Realme just has some additions on top. It's not as heavy as MIUI and is a bit more user-friendly. It also comes with all Google Play services and supports a bunch of different languages. For audio, we do have a 3.5mm headphone jack, which is always a thumbs up from me. This also offers stereo speakers, which are Dolby Atmos certified, which is pretty cool. Our connectivity options are on screen as well, well. So we've got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.2, GPS, NFC. We don't have an FM radio, but that's not a deal breaker. USB Type-C, a couple of sensors, and we also have an under-screen optical fingerprint sensor. Now for the networks, this should support most major networks around the world, and I'll display the band list on screen for you all. As I always say, please make sure you check with your network providers to make sure your country supports these bands. I've tested mine at this point in time with Telstra and got a strong consistent 5G signal, which is awesome. The SIM tray will have the option to install 2 nano SIMs, with one running at 5G and the other at 4G. In the box we get the phone itself, the 65-watt Super Dart charger, which as I said you should get the right charger according to your country, Type-C USB cable, some earphones, pre-applied plastic screen protector, a case, a quick start guide, and a warranty guide. And that is all the specifications for the Realme GT. And at this point in time I usually go through all the pictures in the listing, but let's make a sharp right and just go over some of the more prominent ones featured. So we have a banner here which says sheer speed flagship. Try to say that 10 times fast. And it just shows the 3 different configurations. Mine is the yellow GT one. Next up is pretty much the spec sheet. I could have just shown this on screen beforehand, but I'll show it again just in case you missed something. Now this does claim to have a stainless steel cooling system, or in other words a heatsink inside of this phone. So when we do tear this down, hopefully we'll get to see it, but I have a feeling it's going to be resting behind the AMOLED display. We've got the Super Nightscape mode, the answer to ultra clear nighttime shoots. I took a couple of night pictures and they didn't turn out too bad, but I'll show you them during the camera test. The supercharged power with the 65-watt fast charging, which I have tested at this point in time, and I can absolutely say their 35 minutes is very close from a completely dead phone to 100%, which we did see this on the OnePlus 9 Pro as well. But that phone is almost twice the price of this. The triple camera setup just on the back there, which claims the 64 megapixel one is a Sony sensor. Instead of the 2 megapixel macro lens, they could have included a telephoto lens, but it is what it is at this price range. And of course, racing yellow, our admiration to the young who are creating their futures at full speed. And yeah, that's the eco leather back made with the latest dual tone vegan leather technology. That's wear resistant, fingerprint proof, and I don't know why the phone's sitting with shipping containers. It should be with a car or something like that, but I'll just agree with it at this point in time. Alright, I think that's enough of the listing. Let's now drift into the unboxing and start taking a closer look at the Realme GT. I could have put more car puns in, but I'll stop for now. Okay, and here is the package. This took about a week and a half to get from China to Australia, and I have a feeling this may have been damaged in transit, because this is sort of looking a little bit like this, and we've got an Australia Post sticker saying that this article was received in Australia in this condition, has been rewrapped by Australia Post. Good job rewrapping it, guys. But anyways, hopefully the product inside is in one piece. Okay, so we've got a bit of damage that's happened to the box here. It's all sort of buckled in, but as I said, hopefully the product inside is all good. I've got Realme GT on the front with the Realme logo, all shiny and shimmery, which is all looking good. And, well, there's the damage there. We may not be off to a good start. This is the RMX 2202 in racing yellow, both the IMEIs and serial number, the networks and bands list again, 8GB and 128GB. I'm really hoping this is alright. How did this happen? Probably Australia Post, most likely. Oh, okay. Yeah, a bit damaged. It's alright. It seems like everything's all in one piece. So we've got a SIM eject tool just there. Hey, welcome to Realme family. Well, at least it's a good welcome, not a bad welcome. We get an included case with this, as well as a safety guide and a quick start guide. We have the USB Type-C cable, which is USB Type-C one end and USB Type-A on the other. We do get some free included earphones, which look like EarPods, with a 3.5mm jack, as well as the buttons integrated onto there, and a microphone as well. The phone itself, the Super Dart 65-watt charger, no travel adapter included, but they could have included one, but it's gone missing due to the package being damaged. Specification-wise, it can do 10 volts at 6.5 amps max, which is the 65 watts. I will do a charging test with this and let you all know how that goes. Taking the protective plastic off, we do have a pre-applied screen protector, which is good. Bezel size is very minimal, which I'm liking, and for possibly the cheapest Snapdragon 888 phone on the market, it actually doesn't feel too bad. It is a bit light, but the back just feels really, really nice. Because this is eco leather, which was also featured on the Oppo Find X2 Pro, they've used that on here. But on the back, we do have a 64 megapixel main camera, 8 megapixel ultra wide, and a 2 megapixel depth camera with dual LEDs within there. So this stripe is made of plastic, the camera bump is made of glass, the frame is plastic, but going around the sides of the phone, we do have volume rockers as well as our SIM tray, our 3.5mm headphone jack, USB Type-C port, as well as our speaker grill, and finally on the other side, we have a power button, which has a gold accent. On the top, just a secondary microphone, and that is is it. Taking the SIM tray out, we have support for dual nano SIMs, one running at 5G and the other at 4G. I'll stick a Telstra one in here to see if we pick up any 5G. And there's no rubber ring around the SIM tray as well because this is not water resistant or has any certifications of that matter. The camera bump on the back is actually quite minimal, so there's barely any rocking going on, but if we put it in the case, it looks a little something like this. It sort of makes it now look like the racing stripe has carbon fiber on it, which I kind of like. Alright, first Realme phone on the channel. Here we go, powering it up. The display works, so it wasn't damaged in transit. Sad about the box side, but it is what it is. And here we go, we've booted up. Straight away I can see the 120Hz kicking in, which is nice and smooth on our 6.43 inch 1080p AMOLED panel. So we'll go ahead and set this up, agree to all the terms and conditions there, and what do you know? We do have 5G listed right there, which majority of the phones I have tested on this channel that do have 5G in my area don't actually appear with 5G. I have to go about 10 minutes away, roughly, to pick up a 5G signal, but to get a 5G signal here is actually really good. So when we tear this down, we'll get a better look to see if we can take a look at the 5G antennas inside of this. The Wi-Fi is 2.4 GHz as well as 5 GHz, so I'll connect to my 5 GHz network. The keyboard is a standard G board, so all good there. I may as well put my Gmail in while I'm here. Okay, so we can put a password, enroll our fingerprint, and enroll our face. I'll do all of these. There we go. Comes out with a little happy face there. Alright, cool. That was very quick. It looked all blurry there. I don't even know if that worked. Okay, fingerprint doesn't come up at the moment, so we'll have to do that manually in settings. There we go. Before I continue any further, I just want to check for any software updates. So what I'm going to do is do these updates to make sure the phone is completely up to date before continuing on to do a full review of this phone. Alright, it's definitely been quite a while since I was last filming, but it's given me time to test this phone out, go over some of the features, and install those updates, which was just some minor improvements and a security patch. So pretty much, here it is. Swipe up. There's your apps, which, as I said, Realme does add a couple of things on top of here, but they've included stuff like Amazon, LinkedIn, PUBG Mobile, Amazon Prime Video. You can uninstall these if you want to, but it's just a couple of applications added on top of stock, so it's not too bad. Now, swiping like so, you may not be able to see it, but once again, the 120Hz is definitely kicking in and feels very, very responsive and very, very smooth. In shortcuts, we do have quite a lot of options in here. I'll try the torch out, which honestly, it's not too bad. I believe it's only one LED that's lit up though. It could be both of them, but staring into this too long is making my eyes hurt. We have an O1 Ultra Vision engine, which is just a video image sharpener and a video color enhancer, if you want to switch them on. Dark mode, which will make it dark, of course. Eye comfort mode, power saving mode, personal hotspots, screen recording, do not disturb, Realme share, nearby share, screencast, NFC, switch data sim, and GT mode, which makes everything go faster. So when we do gaming, we'll switch this mode on. You can use the app drawer, or you can just swipe across to see your applications. Touching and holding on the main screen brings up our customizable options for widgets, wallpapers, icons, transitions, and more, which you can customize these to have your home screen looking the way you want it. Icons can also be changed to material, pebble, and custom, which uses a third-party app to get custom icons, which is cool. Wallpapers, we do have static ones, which are just all a bunch of nice colors like so. Is there a GT one though? We want a GT one, a racing yellow one, or carbon fiber or something like that. There's actually quite a lot here. We've got the moon there. Unfortunately, there's no GT ones, but some of these do look familiar, like they're from other devices. Someone will have to let me know, but they all do look pretty nice. So let's put one. It's got a lot of color to it. You can see just how crisp this 1080p display is. I'm just sort of changing it there. It is really, really clear. Just changing it to a couple of random ones. It is very, very nice, I must say that. Live wallpapers, what have we got in here? Do we have any GT stuff, or is it just, ooh, things move around? Looks pretty nifty. I remember using that function on Windows Vista where you could have a live wallpaper. That was really cool when I was using Windows Vista back in the day. And just checking at this point in time as well, we still have 5G, which is great, but we'll jump into settings and go through here, which the first thing is SIM card and mobile data. So I'm going to give this a call and see how it sounds. So with 5G being on and via LTE, this should sound very clear. What is the default ringtone of the Realme GT? Pretty funky.
Testing the earpiece quality of the Realme GT 5G. This is with 5G on and via LTE on as well. This is using the Telstra network, so it should sound pretty clear. And the microphone quality sounds a little something like this on the Realme GT 5G. During my testing, it does sound very clear, and hopefully there's not too much interference during this test.
Hopefully there wasn't too much interference in there, but that does sound extremely clear. The earpiece is nice and loud, and the microphone is pretty good. Now at this point in time, I've put my Vodafone SIM in here, my own personal one, to see if I can get 5G to do an actual speed test, because I have data on this SIM. Unfortunately, Vodafone in this area is really iffy, and I can't pick it up. With my Tulsa SIM, I can pick up 5G, but there's no data on there, so I can't check the speed. One day I will get around to testing it. Continuing on with the settings, we've got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, connection and sharing, which just has all the usual connection options. We've got NFC in here, so we may as well test this. Left, just there. Personalizations, which pretty much we've gone over though. You can change the wallpapers, the always on display if you want to. You can change it to patterns and clocks and all that sort of thing. App layout, fingerprint styles. We haven't enrolled a fingerprint yet, but yeah, you can have it as a swirly thing and sparks and round circles. It looks really cool. Actually, I've had this on the Oppo Reno 5G. When I originally had one, you could do all this sort of stuff. I'm going to leave it as that. We'll try that when we get to fingerprints. Colors, font and display size, notification drawer, and edge lighting, which, of course, the edge will light up if you get a notification. Home screen, lock screen, and always on display, which we've pretty much been through. You can have an always on display, as mentioned previously, and set any of these if you want to, but I'm not a fan of always on displays. It's never been my thing. Display and brightness, light and dark mode, eye comfort mode, the Ultra Vision engine, and going into more, we've got the screen refresh rate, which is auto select, which will bump it down to 60 if it needs to, or just keep it at 120 Hz. Screen display, you can hide the front camera if you want to, which then adds a virtual bezel to the top, and it doesn't really look that great. And there's also bright HDR video mode, which will increase screen brightness when playing HDR videos. I will switch this on when we do the YouTube test, because I believe that's an HDR video. Sounds of vibration, all the usual stuff within here, all your volume sliders. The ringtone is It's Realme. The notification sound is the Realme jingle. The Dolby Atmos settings are within here, and you can select a profile. When we get to the sound test, I'll probably check this out. Notifications and status bar, not too much in here, but you can do some more customization if you need to. Password and biometrics. I've got a lock screen password and face unlock, which does work quite fast. You can see it, unlock straight away. It's time to test the fingerprint sensor. So with just the small real estate I have on my thumb, let's see if it recognizes it, which it does. That wasn't too bad. So we'll just do this. Nice and fast. Very responsive. Nothing too much to note in privacy. Within security, we have the status of Google Play Protect, the Google Play System Update and the Security Update, do a SIM card lock, payment protection, smart lock, SOS stuff, device admin apps. Location is everything you'd expect. I have tested maps on this and it was pretty fast and accurate, so no complaints with GPS there. Convenience tools, navigation, which you can choose to use gestures if you want to, but as I always say, I'm old school, so I'm sticking with the navigation buttons. Gestures and motions, which you've got to allow a bunch of stuff. You can do a couple of gestures there if you need to. There is a smart sidebar as well, which is kind of like the Samsung Edge panel. Quick launch, keep your finger on the screen to bring up a quick launch menu. Hey, this would be pretty cool. So if we just touch and hold, oh yep, there you go. And we do have split screen as well, which will put it into split screen mode. There you go. So you can use two applications at once if you want to. Battery, here we go. So we've got 2 days, 1 hour and 55 minutes remaining, and I've already done the battery test. I'm happy to say this passed with flying colours. I left it for 2 days, 2 hours and 14 minutes, and it dropped from 100% to 76% with an estimated 1 day and 8 hours of battery life left. And as for the 65 watt charging, I'm happy to say that works as well. I have already filmed this bit, and I'm going to give you a quick warning. The charging test that lasts for about 30 seconds, which I've sped up quite a lot, does have flashing lights. So if you do have any sensitivity to flashing lights or anything, I highly recommend to skip to the next bit. I'll display a timestamp on screen for after the charging test, but otherwise I'll splice in the charging test and we'll continue on. Alright, so I'm going to demonstrate the 65 watt fast charging on the Realme GT. This is completely dead at the moment. Well, should be anyways. There we go. So I've got the charger plugged in, and I'll just set a stopwatch on my iPhone to see how long it takes, and this will be sped up probably like 100 times, so it'll be very, very instant, but here we go. $39.28 to get to 100%. That was actually really good. Did take a little bit extra because it was completely dead. They said 35% advertised, so they're not too far off. 39 minutes and 27 seconds to get this from 0% to 100%. So the 65 watt fast charging definitely does work. So I'm wondering if there's a dual battery design in here. We'll take a look at that when we get to the teardown. But safe to say the battery life on this is exceptional. And of course, depending on how much load the phone is taking, you may experience some battery drain, but that's always normal. And there's more battery settings in here to optimize the battery usage, standby, and night charging as well. So once again, quite a lot of options, but as I've already said, battery wise, it's good. Digital wellbeing and parental controls, we don't really need to go into that. App management, we can quickly just check the app list, which I'm just going to go straight through here really quickly. If you do see anything, feel free to pause the video, but I'm fairly sure this is all legit. Realme is legit. Oppo is legit. It is all legit. I've said legit quite a lot of times there. But if you do see anything, feel free to let me know. But there is quite a lot of system apps on here though. But here's where you can uninstall like the Amazon stuff if you need to, if you want to, feel free. Nothing stopping you. And that's pretty much it. And then within here you can also change default apps, permissions, auto launch, etc. Storage, 128 gigabytes, no micro SD card option, which is a bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. Additional settings, region settings, process manager, which just closes apps in the background, I assume. Keyboard input method, we know that's Gboard, and that works well. Accessibility options for anyone who needs this, like talkback, magnification, all that sort of stuff. Video call beautification. So if you're using Messenger and want to do a video call, you can apply a filter to make yourself look extremely beautiful. I did take a selfie with beauty mode on 100%. It looks really weird. You'll see that during the camera test. Task manager, on the go connection, users and accounts, I've already signed into my Gmail. Google settings are all the usual. Software update, I'll just check to see if we have another update. I don't think we will, but hey, you never know. Nope, we're all up to date, so all is good. Legal information, the Realme Lab. So in the Realme Lab, they give you functions that are in a beta stage that will get updated later on. But yeah, smooth scrolling does work. DC dimming, what's this? Oh, it helps reduce screen flicker. Fair enough. Sleep capsule, restrict your phone use for better rest and sleep. So basically turn your phone off and go to sleep. Finally, in about phone, we have something that I always love to see, all these specifications listed here. Name, processor, storage, the model number. One thing I did notice with RAM, because I've got a Find X2 Pro, is that you can add RAM. So if you go into this and expand the RAM to 5 gigabytes, it uses 5 gigabytes of your internal storage to use as RAM. I'm not too sure how well this works as I really haven't tested it, but I may as well just leave it like this for the rest of this review and see if it makes a difference or see if I notice anything. Alright, so that's pretty much all of settings. We get a good idea of the customization of this phone, all the flagship features that this does offer, which is all looking very good for the price point, and I'm pretty happy with the phone so far. But now we really need to go in depth with the performance of this device. And as usual, I'm going to start with the camera, which I've already done a whole heap of shots for the camera test. It's going to be quite a lengthy one, as I used a number of different modes, and there is quite a lot of options to choose from in here. Straight off the bat, you can switch to ultra wide just like so. You can then do a 2x zoom, as well as a 5x zoom, which this should be just a digital zoom using the main lens, as we don't have a telephoto lens within this. Flash HDR was automatically on for most shots. You can choose an AI function if you want to. I left mine off. You can apply a filter here, then upload to Instagram and apply another filter. That would be called filterception. But anyways, settings doesn't have too much to offer in here. A lot of it is all controlled here. Beautification is right there as well, so you can use the artificial intelligence to beautify my mouse mat. Video mode, you have to swipe down just here to get the resolution, the frame rate, and the settings. There is an ultra steady option, but it only works at 1080p 60 FPS. If you go to 4K, ultra steady turns off. Night mode, I've also tested that as well. I left it as pro mode and not AI mode, but I'll comment a little bit more on them when you see them. Portrait mode's also here as well, which isn't the best, but it does work. The 64 megapixel mode for when you want to take photos in the full 64 megapixel resolution, which I've done with a couple of photos, so I'll show you them as well. Anymore, you have dual view video, slow motion, time lapse, movie, pro mode, panorama, text scanner, and ultra macro. The macro lens is just a 2 megapixel one. It does the job, but you can use the main sensor. It will do exactly the same thing. Pro mode is available and you can do all the options here. I haven't used this within the camera test, but it's good to know that you've got all these options here if you want to take some really nice looking photos and customize the ISO and white balance and all that sort of stuff. Front camera is pretty much the same thing. HDR was automatically on, no AI settings, and for the beauty mode I just put everything on 100%, so that's why I look very weird. But otherwise, that's pretty much everything within the camera options. So how well does the Realme GT do in the photo and video department? Actually, not too bad. Sit back and relax as I show you the photos and videos I took with this. We'll talk briefly about the camera quality after it. Alright, here we are testing the video quality of the Realme GT. This is at 1080p 30fps, so everything is pretty much on default settings. And this is what it looks like. It is fairly smooth from the looks of it. The phone is getting extremely hot because I am filming while I'm outside in 32-degree temperatures. And you can jump to 2 times and 5 times, and you can go even further if you wanted to. Oh boy. Autofocus works nice and fast. 3 Muppets. As per usual. They've been slightly moved. My gardener moved them for some particular reason. So this mode has no EIS. It is just basically as it is. When I do the 1080p 60fps test, I'll have it on super steady mode. But that is the brick wall. And Stuart, there he is, looking happy as usual. Lemon tree, look at it. It's nice now. It's been cut back. Sadly, there's no lemons. I don't know if someone's pinched them or they just went with getting it chopped off. I have no idea. That's okay. Finally, the faraway aircon with a 10 times digital zoom looks a little something like that. And you can see Breeze Air on it. Panasonic is kind of covered up. It is there though, somewhere. Now when it comes to ultra wide video, you can only film in 1080p 30fps. You can probably do 720p as well, but this is what ultra wide looks like. I don't think there's any autofocus. Doesn't appear to be. That's fairly good for what it is. Doesn't seem like there's any distortion going on, so that's not too bad. Look at that in detail. Holy moly. Our planet is weird. But there you go. That is ultra wide. Alright, well, let's bump up the resolution and see how we go. Okay, so at 1080p 60fps, this is super steady mode. And that is super smooth. Feels very cinematic. It's just good for panning along, you know? Looks very, very, very nice. It does feel like it's kind of zoomed in a little bit, but that could be just me. Maybe it's not. I don't know. You can autofocus in by the looks of it. Yes. And like walking, looks like this. So that is very, very stabilized. Even though we don't have OIS, feels like it does. But it's just electronic image stabilization, which is working very well. However, this mode only works in 1080p 60fps, not 30fps or 4K, which is a bit unfortunate. I'm not too sure if you can zoom in this mode or not. No, you cannot. So this is kind of what it's going to be stuck at. Faraway aircon. Looks a little something like that. Let's go all out. Instead of 4K 30fps, this is 4K 60fps. Even though my videos are filmed in 1080p 30fps, I think you get the idea of what this is going to look like. Hopefully it does look pretty good. We do have autofocus, of course we do. And you can zoom in 2 times, 5 times, and go even more, but that doesn't look so sharp there, so I'll just go back to 1 times. As I said with the ultra-wide stuff, it's only available in 1080p 30fps. 4K is just using the main sensor with a digital zoom, and that is it. It is fairly steady though. You can see it jumping around a little tiny bit, but it's not too bad. Brick wall, nice and close up. There you go, 4K 60fps. On a 1080p 30fps video. Good job me. Stuart, there he is, baking in the sun. It's fucking hot out here. Lemon tree, is there a lemon in there actually? I can't tell, I don't think there is. And faraway aircon, go for it. 10 times digital zoom, 4K, 60fps, there it is, Breeze Air, you can see it. I'm just outside doing the night shots and it's kind of raining, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what it looks like with the flash on. If we go in close to the Froggo, that looks pretty good. But yeah, the rain is nice and soothing. It's nice and cool outside now, unlike the 32 degrees that it was earlier. Yeah, you can pretty much see everything in pretty good detail. You can see the rain just shooting in front of the camera there. And I must say, testing night shots did actually turn out quite well. So I think you'll have no problems with night shots on this device. I've got the flash on, but it says excessive temperature, and it switches it off. Hi. This is what it looks like. Yes. I was outside for too long, wasn't I? Out of all the days that I choose to do the camera test with the Realme GT, I chose the warmest day in summer, which is 32 degrees. But this is what it looks like in 1080p. And supposedly EIS is on, I believe. It is fairly smooth though, and this is in 1080p, but you can swap it down to 720p if you want to. But you know what? It actually doesn't look too bad, to be fairly honest. This is pretty cool. You can do dual view video, so you can see me reacting as I'm looking at Ripley down there. Ripley! 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 Fine, I'll go over to you then. Hi! Hey yo! You look very unhappy. Unfortunately, it's very, very warm and she's just not used to that. That's dual view video. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Pretty cool for streaming and stuff like that, I suppose. I'm pretty sure other phones have this. I've just never realized that it has it before. Okay, so you've just seen the photos and videos that I took with the Realme GT 5G, and I've got to say, the camera performance is actually really, really good. When I first looked at the specifications of this and noticed that there was no optical image stabilization on the rear camera, I thought that might be a deal breaker, but the electronic image stabilization is actually really, really good. The main 64 megapixel sensor in this itself is really good, a lot of colors, very, very vibrant, autofocus is nice and fast, and while in this 64 megapixel mode, I did notice some blurriness around the corners. If you just use the normal standard mode, which is 16 megapixels, honestly, there's not much difference between the two. Well, as far as I can tell anyways. The ultra-wide camera is pretty good. No autofocus though, but there's no distortion while using it, as far as I could tell anyways. And the 2 megapixel macro sensor, as I usually say, it is pretty useless, as you can use the main sensor to go close up to an object and take a photo. But they've just stuck a 2 megapixel one on there because why not? A telephoto one would have been good, as I've already said 3 times, but it is what it is. At this price range, I'm pretty happy with the performance of the rear camera. Even video-wise, 4K 60fps on the rear camera performed really well and looked super sharp, and the anti-shake super steady mode on 1080p 60fps performed better than I expected. Portrait mode didn't really work. It only really worked on the lemon tree, but on Stuart and the flowers, it kind of isn't really noticeable. But you can achieve the same effect, once again, just using the main sensor. The front camera, I gotta say, is not too bad. No autofocus on the front camera though, but portrait mode worked exceptionally well on the front camera. That was no problems whatsoever. And video-wise for the front camera, it's not too bad. It's not the best. It will do. One thing I did notice during the camera test is the microphones aren't really the clearest. While making a phone call, the microphones are very clear, but when taking videos, they sound a little bit muffled. I've had to bump down the volume during editing ever so slightly because some of it's really loud and then some of it's really soft. Also, because I was using this in 32-degree temperatures, the Snapdragon 888 just wasn't really handling it quite well, and I experienced a lot of battery drain. I think it was at 100% when I walked outside, and about half an hour of the camera test, I came back inside and it was down to about 72%. But when back inside, it cooled down, so I believe the heat pipe or the heatsink that they've put in here is doing its job. But enough rambling about the camera. I think you get the idea. It is pretty good. For $630 Australian, if I put the OnePlus 9 Pro and this side by side, I probably wouldn't be able to tell much of a difference, to be fairly honest. Main sensor wise anyways. But let's now jump into applications. I've already installed the ones that I want to show later on, like Ark Survival Evolved, Genshin Impact, San Andreas, PUBG Mobile was already installed for us, Geekbench 5, and device info hardware. Well, let's start going through the application list and start opening them up. Obviously, games will leave till last, as well as the specs. So I've got the Amazon stuff, I'm not going to open them up, Google Assistant, Booking.com, calculator is going to look like a calculator, calendar, camera, Chrome. Let's do a browser test. Now, without even going further into the browser test, I can already say with the Snapdragon 888, the 8GB of RAM, you'll have no problems with browsing the web. Everything loads nice and fast, and the 120Hz is nice and smooth while scrolling, so you'll have no problems. But just opening up GSM Arena, there it is there. There's the Realme GT 5G, which I only just found out recently that the Realme GT 2 is on its way by the end of this month, I think. Once that's released, this will be cheaper. Keep an eye out for this one, because I've had a look at the specs of the GT2, and while there are some big improvements, this is still a more than capable device for the price. But I'd say it probably will drop $100, maybe a little bit more. We'll see what happens. All the specs there, it is a flagship killer, absolutely, for its price range. It is really, really good. Just, yeah, 2 megapixel macro cameras just don't really work well with these devices. They just sort of chuck it on there and hope for the best. Otherwise, I can reassure you that jumping onto Chrome and opening multiple tabs will have no performance issues on the Realme GT. Clock will look like a clock. We have Clone Phone, which I actually didn't show, but if you have an old phone and you want to migrate all your data to the new phone, you just open this up. You have Clone Phone on the old device, open it up, and it will clone all your data from the old one to the new one and put everything in place for you. And it works with an older Realme device, most Android devices, and iPhones. Compass, contacts, device info, Drive, Duo, Facebook, File Manager, and Files. Game Space, we can open that up, which will show us our games that we've got installed on here in a neat little animation, just like so. So essentially, during the gaming test, I'm going to enable GT mode, but I can also launch the games through here to make them look as best as we can, and we can choose Pro Gamer mode, which means that. That's good. Gmail, Google, Google One, Google Pay, Google Movies, San Andreas, Keep Notes, Lens, LinkedIn, Maps. As I said, I've already tested GPS, nice and fast, no problems there. Messages, music's up next. Time for the speaker test. Okay, so the Dolby Atmos mode only works with headphones, which makes sense. Now there's also a fun little bonus with the Realme phone. They include the It's Realme song, which sounds a little something like this.
Find the real me. So let's go. Seize the feeling.
I won't play it all, but it's kind of a catchy song to be fairly honest. The sound effect does say Dolby is on. As I said though, I'll try with my headphones. I'll let this fluctuate between minimum and maximum, so I'll go ahead and play this with the bottom speaker and we'll see how loud we get to. Extremely loud. I think it was 105.3 we got to, but that bottom speaker definitely has a lot of kick to it. The top speaker though, that also has quite a lot of kick to it. I don't know what I got to then, but I think 102 was about what we reached with the top speaker. Playing it normally, in stereo mode, like so. Both of them are very, very good performers and are exceptionally loud, especially the top one as well. All right, so I'll go into settings, go to the Dolby settings. I'll see what difference it makes. Oh, yep, bass boost, bump everything up. Yep, it sounds better without Dolby on. Honestly, during that test, I'd rather have Dolby off. That's just my opinion anyways. It sounded a lot better with that off. But the scenarios that they do give you do work. It does make it where it can be used indoor, on the go, on public transport, or on a flight, or you can just have it as smart if you want to, but it does work. It's just that I'd just prefer to have it off, to be fairly honest. But otherwise, I'm really happy with the audio performance. I wasn't expecting it to be that loud, but we'll get a better look at those speakers once we tear this down. Netflix, news, phone manager, which is basically just optimizing it. There you go, your phone's good to go. It will close any background processors, any applications that are draining the battery. You also have a smart doctor on your phone as well, which tells you that you have the Snapdragon 888, 8 gigs of RAM, and the 128 gigs of storage. But it runs diagnostics on your phone and tells you if there's anything wrong with it. Before you take it to a service center, run this, and see if your problem is a fairly simple one before taking it there. Photos, Play Store, which I don't need to go into because I've installed all the applications already. Podcasts, Prime Video, PUBG, Recorder, Screen Lock, which we've not been through. So it locks the screen for you. So you can just, there you go. If you don't want to press the power button, you can use that. Don't know how handy that is, but there you go. Settings, Twitter, never use Twitter. Videos, weather, YouTube, and YouTube Music, which I think it is time to do the YouTube test. So the other day, I had to look up a 4K video just to test something, and I actually found that someone had uploaded walking around Japan at night. Yeah, this is the YouTuber here. And I actually watched a bit of it, even though this is in the red light district, which, I did not go to while I was in Japan. I did see the Akihabara one, and it was actually really, really nice. So I may use this in future video tests, as there's a lot of contrast and colors and all that sort of thing. However, we're all sort of used to the Costa Rica in 4K one, so I think we'll stick to this for the time being. We are going to choose 4K 60 FPS with HDR on. It is going to look absolutely amazing on this 1080p Super AMOLED display. can I just say how refreshing it is to watch that video in 4K, 60 FPS and in HDR as well. It looks absolutely crisp on this display. And of course with the hardware that's packing in this, you can watch 4K, 60 FPS videos and not have it lagging or anything like that. And combining the video with those speakers, it's actually quite a really good experience on this so far. I'm looking at the OnePlus 9 Pro and going, while that was a good phone, that is expensive. This is half the price and I'm actually more happier with this. Okay, well the rest of the applications are games and device testing. So I'm going to open up device info hardware just to quickly check all these specifications to make sure that we've got everything correct. And yep, sure enough, 8GB of RAM, the Snapdragon AAA processor. See what the temperature is currently on this at the moment. 2400 by 1080 display at 120Hz. And the multi-touch test on the Realme GT should be 10, I believe. Yep. 10-point multi-touch. 8GB and 128GB storage, 64 megapixel, 16 megapixel front camera. It doesn't say the other ones though, but I can reassure you the 8 megapixel ultra wide and the 2 megapixel macro camera are completely legit. The battery is the 4500 mAh one. Thermal, what are we rocking at? About 37, 39 degrees around the CPU area, about 40 degrees. It's quite warm in my office at the moment, so that is about normal. Geekbench 5, here we go. So obviously I'm going to be putting this straight up against the OnePlus 9 Pro, and I think the second most expensive phone featured on this channel was the Unihertz Titan. Who knows at this point in time? I'm going to run the benchmark, see what it comes up with, and then we'll see the other numbers from other devices. And there we go. That is the results right there. It actually beats the OnePlus 9 Pro, which is a more expensive device. But I do remember reading some issues about benchmarks on the OnePlus 9 Pro, but still that phone is about $1,000 and this is $600 and does beat it ever so slightly, even though it's got the same processor, the same GPU, single core, 1141, 3471 for the multi-core score, and the Unihertz Titan is also displayed on screen for you, but it doesn't even come close to that. So just by these numbers, this is the most powerful device I have featured on this channel so far. So it's safe to assume that gaming-wise is going to be no problems on this. It's going to be like the OnePlus 9 Pro, nice and smooth. But let's go ahead and put GT mode on, which is somewhere here. There it is there. Switch that on. Good stuff, man, good stuff. And I'll go into game space, and I'll start the gaming test with San Andreas. Alrighty, here we go. There is a bit of a bezel going on there. I think it's due to the game space mode that I have on though. But look, that shouldn't be much of an issue. But San Andreas, straight away, no worries. This looks much better than the definitive edition that they've released, that's for sure. But yep, I can go ahead and just ride around and do a wheelie on my bike, like so, across some train tracks, like a mad lad. Look at me go. Just testing the haptic vibration. It works. Kind of feels like there's one at the top and one at the bottom, but we'll have to see when we tear this down. But nope, San Andreas, all good with that one. Alright, next up we'll try PUBG, which I absolutely suck at, but I'll play it because it's on here. Wait, what? It's not installed by default, you have to download it. Oh, it's some sort of a gift thing. If I go to the next page, it shows a unique code for some reason. I'm not too sure what it is, but it's called PUBG Mobile Gift Box. So obviously something special for Realme devices. Not too sure. See, there it is there. So I'll just go ahead and install it, and we'll play a quick game of it. And I'll say at this point in time, the whole back of the phone is pretty much warm. Down towards here is the coolest, and then obviously up towards here is quite warm. But it's coming through the screen. Hopefully we can look at that heat pipe that's in here. With the graphics all on the absolute maximum that I can put them on, let's go ahead and try a quick match of PUBG. There you go. Nice and smooth. That's, I would say, 120 FPS right there. Oh, we're in a plane. Looks good so far. Can I drive this? Can I get in this? My god, I can. Well, I've got an advantage now, because I have a car. Look, at this point in time, I'm pretty sure you get the idea that PUBG is going to run extremely well on this phone. You've got flagship specs in this, and you can go ahead and drift off the road and smash into a tree like I did. Yeehaw. Well, that sucks. Okay, after failing tremendously at PUBG, here we are at Ark Survival Evolved. So I'll bump the graphics all the way up to the absolute maximum that I can, which I believe that is kicked in. So let's go ahead, play a single player, and see how this runs. Still got that bezel going on, but it's not bothering me, to be fairly honest. But this should be the absolute smoothest we're going to see Ark Survival Evolved on this channel. Well, on a device on this channel anyways. Here we go. Yep. And that's more than playable. Can we go find a dinosaur to just high five, you know, say, here you go, mate. Hello. Hey, buddy. Hey. Hey. He's got love hearts. Oh, no, he hates me. Why is there love hearts around him when he wants to kill me? Uh-oh. He's got the speedy things. Uh-oh. Yeah, I'm out of here. And just having a look at the scenery as well. Nice and smooth. I mean, yeah, a couple of frame dips here and there, but nothing that's going to stop me from playing this. So I'd be more than happy to sit down and play Ark Survival Evolved on this. Even though I don't really know what to do in this game, I just use it for benchmarking purposes, and there's dinosaurs and stuff like that. That's all I really know, but it works really well. Oh, hello, hello, oh, hello, hello, where'd you come from, mate? Oh god, okay, I'm dead. And finally, the ultimate test, Genshin Impact. Now luckily with this, I have my save file on here, so I can go straight to where I need to test this. I don't have to do the missions, I can go straight to settings, bump the graphics up to absolute maximum, and then show you how it runs. So everything is on absolute maximum settings, the graphics quality is on custom, and this is Genshin Impact. Super smooth, so I will go over here and start a fight with these fellas. So I'll just walk into their battleground like so, and here we go. I'll just start a battle like so. Perfectly fine. I mean, if there was a lot more enemies on screen, there's probably going to be a bit of lag going on, but I can see the background nice and clear. It is running fine and just sort of running around. Even though this is not really sort of a benchmark, you get the idea that this game will be no problems on your $630 Realme GT. Well, I knew that the gaming performance of this phone was not going to be a letdown. It is exactly like the OnePlus 9 Pro. Everything is nice and smooth, except the phone is just getting really hot right now. It's very, very hot at the back, as well as the screen as well. It's heating up quite a bit. So let's quickly open device info hardware and see what it's actually at. About 60 degrees. What is it around the CPU? It is cooling down now though, but about 60 degrees. The whole thing is quite toasty. Not there, but all along there. That's just the nature of the Snapdragon 888, unfortunately. I've tested games, applications, we've looked at the camera, we've tested pretty much everything that I need to test on this device. And what can I say about this phone? For $630 Australian, it's absolutely worth it. If you can get your hands on one, go for it. The 65 watt fast charging is great. The camera performance, while only just the main sensor, is excellent. The ultra wide is also good. The 2 megapixel macro camera is just meh. The front camera is also pretty acceptable for this price range. Speakers are great. Battery life is awesome. Not a lot of bloatware going on. User interface is nice and easy to use. If you can get it in the 12GB plus 256GB variant, which is about $700 Australian, I would highly recommend go for it. Even though the GT2 is around the corner, while it doesn't have Android 12, it should be getting it in the near future, but Android 11 is more than sufficient on this device. The 120Hz is also great. While it is only a 1080p display, for a phone half the price of most flagships, this would be my definite flagship killer. And of course, this has 5G, and it picks up 5G. Right where I'm sitting. Majority of the 5G phones that I've looked at on this channel do not pick up 5G where I currently sit, so this phone has done extremely well. However, there is possibly something from Xiaomi that has the same specifications for around the same price, but just from what I had a look at on the OnePlus 9 Pro, that was $1,200, to this, that's $600, this is an easy winner for me. I just wish that it did have support for a microSD card, and if the back camera did have optical image stabilization, I'd be a little bit more happier with this, but the electronic image stabilization is actually perfectly fine, so that's really not that much of an issue. I think the only negative is the fact that this is going to heat up and you're going to get some battery drain if you are using this for heavy usage. The Snapdragon 888 does run quite warm, but if you don't use GT mode and the game mode, where it bumps everything up to 100%, I think you should have no problems with this whatsoever. I'll turn GT mode off now, so then it's a little bit cooler. One other negative that I did find with this was the microphone quality when taking videos. It was a little bit muffled and the volume jumps around a bit, but it's not that much of a deal breaker. As I said, for some particular reason, I do prefer this device over the OnePlus 9 Pro. I don't know, it could be just the yellow racing GT sort of thing going on here. That could be all it is. But regardless, very satisfied with the performance of this device. So with that fairly rambly conclusion out of the way, I'm pretty sure you get the idea. The phone's good. If you can get it, get it. If it's on sale, get it. If you're looking to upgrade your phone, maybe have a look at this. Kind of just makes the OnePlus 9 Pro look irrelevant now. I mean, yes, that did have a better display, better cameras and stuff, but this is half the price. I'd rather this. Anyways, Realme GT, time for you to be switched off, because we're going to tear you down and have a look at the guts. Let's begin. Actually, before we begin to tear it down, while it is still intact and I haven't pulled the back cover off yet, I'm going to do a quick bend test just to see how it fares out. So with it all still working, that's rock solid. That ain't going anywhere. From the other way, bit of flex, but nothing. Passes the bend test. Now getting into this device should be easy because we've got a eco leather back, not a glass back. I should be able to just put my pry tool somewhere in here and get a little bit of leverage, and we should be able to just rip it straight off. Okay, now this should be just fairly easy. Slice along the adhesive. I've accidentally switched it on. That's okay. Just like that, we're in. I did damage the frame ever so slightly while trying to pry it open. Instead, the best point was to go underneath the plastic that's on the back cover there to lift it up. If we lift up this plastic tab, we can see we have a dual battery design in here, which allows the 65 watt fast charging to be done. Each battery is 2,250 milliamp hours for a total of 4,500 milliamp hours. The NFC pad is located just at the top, and we've got a bunch of screws to take out before we can gain access to the internals. There is a warranty sticker here as well, so if you break that, your warranty's void. I mean, if you've already pulled the back cover off, your warranty's void anyways. So starting from the SIM tray, just use your pry tool, go around the plastic frame, and it should just pop off nice and easy once you've taken out all these screws. The camera bump does come off to reveal another hidden screw just there, but once that's out, you can pull the whole entire frame off. The dual tone LED flash is still connected to the motherboard, which just comes off like so. This is the plastic frame, nothing really to note here except for the NFC, which communicates via some contacts just there. Now I will say you do have to be careful with disassembly, because if you do run your pry tool along the edges and snip through these little flex ribbons just here, that's it. You'll no longer have a working power button or volume buttons, so just be careful. Unsnapping the battery, we can use these pull tabs to lift it straight out. Nice and easy, and sure enough, that is a dual battery design right there. The bottom PCB with the USB Type-C port as well as the headphone jack just require one screw to be removed to then be able to take it out. The antenna wire from the top motherboard to the bottom is still connected, and I'll just leave that connected as it snakes around like so. There is some attempts for waterproofing going on, like there is some rubber gaskets around the USB Type-C port, and also some waterproof mesh going along the bottom speaker, which is actually quite a beefy unit inside of this. I'm still very happy with the performance of this speaker, I'll tell you that. The display connector also has this nice red rubber ring that goes around the flex cable, which is kind of cool, but I'll just stick that back down for now. The underscreen optical fingerprint sensor is just this little guy here. We have our triple camera array, as well as the pretty large earpiece, which doubles as the secondary loudspeaker, and as you heard during the speaker test, performed quite well. The 64 megapixel camera doesn't have any movement to it, which means no optical image stabilization, but it definitely does have AIS, 2 megapixel macro camera, and the 8 megapixel ultra wide one. Disconnecting the flex cables as well as the 2 antenna cables, which are routed onto the motherboard. One screw holds down the motherboard, and there we go. There is our motherboard, as well as multiple areas where they've applied thermal paste. I can see the heat pipe that they've put in here. You can see it just behind the metal frame there, and it continues on all the way down. So what was advertised is correct. And flipping it over, we can see copper tape and the areas for the thermal paste. The front camera is just a little tiny one, and there's honestly not too much to look at here. The Snapdragon 888 would be right there, I'd say. So that whole piece here appears to be the heatsink. I don't see a heat pipe, but as I said, it's possibly underneath the AMOLED display, which I don't want to take off because I don't want to ruin this. I want to keep this working. Hopefully it still works by the end of this. Well, I think that's everything that I need to show about the guts of the Realme GT 5G, so I'll go ahead and put this back together and see if it still works. So I'll just hold the power button and we'll just see if it powers on. Beautiful. All is good. Also, I forgot to mention the vibration motor. It's just this coin style vibration motor, just like so. There is no top one, just that one there, but it works well enough. With it all back together, fingerprint sensor still works. Everything's all good. Just check the cameras. All the cameras are still working, so this phone survived the teardown as well as the durability test. And as I've already said in the conclusion, highly recommend this device. For $600, it's a steal. Great phone with great performance, but I'm pretty sure you don't need to hear the conclusion again. That is the Realme GT. That is the complete in-depth review of this phone. If I've missed anything, please let me know down in the comments below, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'm fairly sure I have covered absolutely everything on this device in terms of performance, cameras, functionality, all that sort of stuff. Otherwise, I've got to give a massive thank you to AliExpress for sending this sample out to me for a review. I really do appreciate it, and also thank you for your patience and understanding during the making of this video. I did have a couple of delays. This was meant to be released in November, however it's been released in December, but with all the sales going on in December, hopefully this does come down in price, but all links are going to be in the description below. There's no affiliate links whatsoever. I won't earn anything from any clicks. They're just there for your convenience. If you want to take a look and see if you can find it cheaper, absolutely go for it. There's no obligations there. Now, there may be other links in the description below, as AliExpress is updating me with a couple of more links, but they still won't be affiliate links. They'll be just some deals. There may be a coupon code down there as well, so if there is, feel free to use that. But I'll double check with them and make sure all the appropriate information is listed. I wasn't paid by Realme or AliExpress for this review. All opinions were my own, and as I said, this device is rock solid, and it will sit right next to the OnePlus 9 Pro as the best phone that I've featured on this channel, except half the price of that, as I've said so many times. That is going to do it for the Realme GT 5G in-depth real review. I hope you did enjoy this for what it was, and if you made it to the end of this video, thank you very much. But if you use the timestamps, that is all good. That is why the timestamps are there. If you just wanted to see a teardown, or the conclusion, or the camera test, there's no problems with that whatsoever. I did have plans to make a couple more videos in December. I'll see how I go, but at the moment, there's a lot of stuff going on that I'm trying to sort out, but I will try and get things organized as quickly as I can, and hopefully provide something before the end of 2021. While 2021 was a pretty difficult year, just like 2020, I'm hoping that 2022 is going to be much better. Stay positive for 2022. Fingers crossed everything goes well for everyone. Just in case I don't make another video this year, I thank everyone for supporting this channel. I very much appreciate it. I've come so far from just making very casual YouTube videos to me doing this basically full time now, so I wish I could thank people more than just saying thank you, but just know that I really do appreciate it, and making these videos is entertaining, and I hope to continue making them for entertainment and educational purposes. But thank you so much once again, everyone. I really do appreciate it. Please take care, stay safe, be good people, all the best for 2022. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that good stuff. Thank you very much to AliExpress once again for providing me with this sample to review. But anyways, with all that, I'll see you all in the next video, which who knows what that'll be, but until then, please take care of one another, and I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. If you like this content, feel free to leave a like or a dislike if you didn't. Thanks heaps for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.